A plan to launch the first private Japanese lander to the moon was postponed by SpaceX on Wednesday by 1 day. At 3:37 a.m. on Thursday, a Falcon 9 rocket will launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida. It is speculated that the delay was necessary for further pre-flight inspections. So in today's video, we will cover everything on the Japanese moon lander launch, from what you should know to how successful the launch might be. Welcome to Smarter Tech, and without further ado, let's get started. Before entering lunar orbit in April of next year, the Falcon 9 rocket will launch the spacecraft on a journey that will take it 1 million miles from Earth and well beyond the moon. Ispace's lander will start its main engine in lunar orbit to autonomously descend to the lunar surface, with a landing planned for the near side of the moon's northern hemisphere. The moon lander project resulted from 12 years of financing and engineering development, a process that saw starts, halts, and significant scope revisions. The Google Lunar X Reward competition, which offered a $20 million grand prize to the first privately funded team to land a lander on the moon, inspired Takeshi Hakamada to create the business that would become Ispace. The Hakuto team, directed by Hakamada, worked on creating a lunar rover that would travel to the moon on another lander. The Google Lunar X Prize, however, was terminated in 2018 without having a winner, which caused several of the teams to disband or struggle to find new goals. In an interview with Spaceflight Now, Hakamada noted that their objective has changed from merely the Lunar X Prize to a broader transportation business. He also added that they hope to launch their first mission on November 30th. This is the time they will be bringing payloads from the public and private sectors, making this the first private mission to set foot on the moon. This will pave the way for cislunar commercial sectors in the future. Although Ispace has not released the cost of the mission launching this week, as of July, the company had acquired $237 million in equity finance and bank loans to pay for the Hakuto R lunar transit program. According to the business, they specialize in designing and constructing lunar landers and rovers. Moreover, Ispace wants to expand the domain of human life into space and establish a sustainable planet by offering high-frequency and low-cost transportation services to the moon. Before we continue, hold up. If you're watching us for the first time, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can enjoy our future videos while getting updated. Getting back to the topic, according to Hakamada, the first Hakuto R lander, dubbed Mission 1, will deliver client payloads weighing around 24 pounds to the moon's surface. A rover from the United Arab Emirates created by Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center is the biggest of the payloads. Despite occupying most of the Hakuto R lander's payload capacity, the rover is little, measuring only 21 by 21 inches. Moreover, the lander is transporting a much more compact mobile robot created by the Tommy toy firm and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency. Another Japanese business, NGK Sparkplug, will evaluate the performance of solid-state batteries with a payload. Among the other payloads on board the Hakuto R landing craft include the wide-angle cameras from Canadensis, an artificial intelligence flying computer from Mission Control Space Services, and a demonstration of NGC Aerospace's crater-based autonomous navigation system. Although Hakamada stated that their mission is privately supported, they do have some ties with governments. For instance, they have a JAXA payload in addition to their current payloads from the UAE Space Agency and MBRSC. However, even these payloads are private contracts with no government financing for R&D, making them completely distinct from the previous interactions with the government. A few of the investors in Hakamada include Suzuki, Japan Airlines, the Development Bank of Japan, Konica Minolta, Dentsu, and other venture capital and equity organizations. Through fundraising, Ispace was able to source components for its Hakuto R lander from vendors all over the world. The hydrazine-fueled propulsion system was manufactured by Ariane Group, which also assisted Ispace with the lander's final assembly in Germany. Software for guidance, navigation, and control is being provided for the landing by the Massachusetts-based business Draper, which also served in this capacity on NASA's Apollo missions. Ispace provided the solar panels. When fully fueled for launch, the initial Hakuto R lander, which Ispace refers to as its Series 1 design, weighs around 2,200 pounds. Propellers for the lander's engines, made of hydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide, make up about 2/3 of the launch mass. The lander is 8.5 feet broad and reaches 7.5 feet tall when its legs are fully extended. SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will lift off from Cape Canaveral and fly east over the Atlantic Ocean before shutting down its first stage booster less than 2.5 minutes into the flight. The fourth flight of the reusable first stage will end with a propulsive landing at Cape Canaveral. Interestingly, the Hakuto R lander will be launched by the Falcon 9's second stage twice, putting it on a fast trajectory that will bring it far from Earth. The lander is supposed to separate from the Falcon 9 upper stage 45 minutes into the flight. The spacecraft systems will then be turned on and its 4 landing legs will be extended. On the other hand, a lunar flashlight, a hitchhiker payload for NASA weighing 31 pounds, will disperse from the Falcon 9 about 53 minutes after liftoff. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory is in charge of the lunar flashlight, which will launch itself into a looping halo orbit around the Moon. Its purpose is to test a laser system that will illuminate permanently dark craters close to the lunar poles. The kind and quantity of water, ice, and other substances hidden on the shadowy crater floors can be determined by measuring the amount of light reflected off the lunar surface by the spacecraft. The Ispace lander will travel like its mothership, but independently of it by using a series of course correction operations. Before gravity pulls it back toward the Moon, it will go a maximum of 1 million miles or 1.5 million kilometers away from Earth. Around the end of April, the Hakuto R lander will prepare for its last fall to the lunar surface after firing thrusters to capture the Moon in orbit. According to Hakamada, with the help of the Sun's gravity, they may use this orbit to lower the amount of propellant they need to use. They chose this orbit to lower the launch mass and expense. The Capstone mission by NASA and the Korean Lunar Orbiter are 2 recent missions that use a trajectory comparable to this one. Therefore, they don't consider this orbit to be very risky. Ispace's Chief Technical Officer Ryo Uji said that the business had outlined 10 significant checkpoints for its initial lunar landing mission. The first milestone has already been reached with the completion of launch preparations. Within 1 or 2 days of takeoff, the Hakuto R spacecraft will be launched and deployed, steady-state operations will be established, and the first orbit control maneuver will be performed. A month of operations in deep space, further course correction burns, entering lunar orbit, adjusting to match up with the landing location, and the landing itself was all additional milestones. The culmination of the payload operations on the lunar surface will be the last goal. In the event that the landing is successful, the spacecraft is built to continue functioning for roughly 10 days. This is long enough to launch the mobile robot from JAXA and the Moon rover from the UAE. The deployable payload's communication signals will be sent back to Earth via the stationary landing craft. When the sun sets over the landing site and the 2-week lunar night begins, the mission will come to a conclusion. With the first Hakuto R mission, Ispace hopes to complete a contract with NASA and carry out the payloads on the lander. In 2020, NASA gave contracts to commercial businesses to buy lunar regolith, including a $5,000 deal to Ispace. The total value of the agreements was relatively small. The program is a component of NASA's Artemis moon mission. NASA hopes to someday enter into agreements with private businesses to purchase materials like water and minerals that could support a future lunar outpost. Without a doubt, officials on both sides of the deal will benefit from the transfer of ownership of lunar soil from a private corporation to NASA. At the same time, they work through legal and regulatory hurdles. Anyway, what are your thoughts? Will the launch be successful? And do you think Ispace will complete a contract with NASA? Comment down below. Also, please leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos. Goodbye!